The Thieves Guild in Elder Scrolls Online is something that we're very anxious to include as part of a package after the game comes out. And I don't want to spill too many of the details because we really think players are going to have a good time enjoying discovering all the different intricacies of it. But yes, there'll be a skill line, and you can expect things like distraction and other things that I'm not going to talk about to be in there, as well as the ability to steal items and sell them to a fence, and all mechanics associated with that, as well as justice for if you're caught in the process of those things. But I don't want to give too many details away. So at launch, there's no specific faction in Morrowind that you can join. There's the Mages Guild and the Fighters Guild, which are across all factions, as well as a new guild called the Undaunted that basically challenge each other to take on the great difficulties and trials of the world. And you'll get rewards for participating in that guild's content and problems and solving them, but there's nothing specific to the houses of Indorol or Lush. Go Billy. Okay, so as far as Daedric items go, it's absolutely the case that the Daedric quests and the collecting of the Daedric items, I feel, is always one of the most interesting things in participating in Elder Scrolls game. And because of that, I don't want to give it away. Either which ones you can collect, when you can collect them, where you collect them, and what they do. But it is safe to say that some of your favorites are in there, and they're pretty cool. There is a theoretical limit. It is a very, very large number. Last count, it was something like 340. Basically, yes, Sky Shards, every 2 Sky Shards you collect. Any major story event in a zone has the potential to give you one. Any major story event in the main quest line has the potential to give you one. By participating in the PvP and advancing through ranks there in the Alliance War, you can get skills. By doing dungeons, you can get skills. So they're just all over the place. You'll have the opportunity to keep getting more and more and more. There's enough abilities and places to spend the skill points in the game that we'll keep giving them to you, and you'll keep spending them. Absolutely, there is no restrictions of any kind on who can wear what armor. You can wear any type of armor in the game. There's a number of spells on the Sorcerer. I don't know if he's had the opportunity to see them all, that are pretty visually impressive. A lot of times what we do is we save the oomph for the ultimate ability. And the Sorcerer, off the top of my head, has the ability to summon a Storm Atronach who just comes in like a meteor with this big, flattens the ground, stuns anyone in the area, gets up and starts zapping everyone. It's a pretty big spell. He also has this ability called Overload, where he turns his hands into these lightning weapons, and he just channels this cone of lightning that can just wipe out entire groups of people if they don't get out of the way. So there's some pretty big spells on there, especially the ultimates. There's no necromancy skill included in the game at launch. As before, it's another thing that it often comes up as something maybe players would want to have access to, and it's definitely something we've had a lot of internal discussions about. Is do we want to develop a skill and a story around that? No plans for that at launch. It's an important part of the identity of a class that there's this set of things that I can do that I chose to do, and so because of that, we wanted to make sure that classes stay really within themselves. That doesn't mean that I can't have picked a Nightblade and decide that I want to, play him as a melee character who's very tanky and aggressive, like maybe someone who would think a Dragon Knight would be. But as far as using the actual iconic ability, no. You stick within your class, and you might be surprised what the Nightblade can do to simulate the effect of Fire Reach in his own way. That's really interesting. In Elder Scrolls games, everyone can sneak, and that's kind of a hallmark of the activities. And what makes you different is how good at it you are. And we knew we wanted something that felt very similar. And a lot of interesting mechanics have come about as a result of giving everyone access to some form of sneaking. In PvP, there's some pretty nifty ambushes that people lay, underneath cliffs and stuff like that as the enemy rolls past, and you pick off the stragglers. I've seen a lot of really interesting videos where people use that to great effect. Sneaking around in our game was much more like sneaking and not like I'm invisible. And then to create that feel that we know a lot of people do enjoy of I'm invisible and now I'm gonna, and it doesn't matter, I can walk right in front of you. There are certain abilities that do give you that temporary ability to turn it completely invisible and guaranteed get the jump, but they have downsides that are pretty significant, right? They have high magicka costs or very short durations, and oftentimes you need to use them in combination with sneaking so you can get close enough to use them. So it evolved kind of naturally, but the starting point was, hey, it's an Elder Scrolls game, so everyone better be able to sneak.